Morning, everybody. Thanks very much for coming to the launch of the Meals and Wheels website and interactive map. My name is James Caffey from Irish Rural Link and the Meals and Wheels network. As I said, we're delighted to have you all here today, and thanks very much for those that came from a distance. I know we have people here from Cork, Westmeath, Offaly, Roscommon, groups like that as well, and there's some coming down as well from Dublin, so that's great. And a special word of thanks, I suppose, to Minister Mary Butler for joining us today. I know she's a big distance to travel, so we really appreciate it. So look, just a couple of housekeeping things today. For many of us, it's our first event post-COVID, so if you can all remember, please to wear our masks when we're inside the marquee, and we just keep our distance, just to keep everyone safe. The running order for today is that we're just going to have a couple of speakers. We're going to have Paudie's going to welcome you here in a minute, and then we're going to have Bridget, who is a client of the service, and then I'm going to say a few words, and then the minister is going to do it. So I would like to invite Paudie to come to the stage and just say a couple of words on behalf of the centre. Thanks very much.
Thank you, James. So Paudie Coffey is my name. I'm the secretary of the Dr. Martin Day Centre here in Portlaw, and I want to welcome you all here today. I know some of you have travelled quite a distance for this very important launch of something that we'll talk about in more detail later on. Specifically, I want to welcome our local minister, Mary Butler. Mary's a very good friend of the Day Centre here, and no stranger to the centre, I have to say. Only a short few weeks ago, she launched the Directory of Services for Older People in Waterford City and County, which again is a very great launch of a great initiative to support the elderly in our communities. And not only that, I want to take the opportunity to thank Minister Butler for her support in this centre, where recently we developed a new kitchen for our Meals on Wheels service at quite a considerable cost, that was built and fitted out during the pandemic. And I want to thank Minister Butler for her input, and indeed the officials in the Department of Health and the HSE for the support for this new kitchen for our centre. Without a kitchen, as we all know, we don't have meals, so it's a very critical part of our infrastructure here. I particularly want to welcome also Lady Waterford, who is our chairperson of our committee here for many years and has been over many decades. And some of our committee, and Corcoran is our committee representative, and some of our service clients here, both Bridget and Caught, who attend here regularly as well. Just for information purposes, the Dr. Martin Centre here was originally a voluntary care home for a residential home for the elderly here in Portlaw in County Waterford. Over 120 years ago it was formed, and in 2012 we changed use from a residential home to a day centre, and for a centre that delivers Meals on Wheels services. So we have a long track record of voluntary charity effort supporting the vulnerable and the elderly here in Portlaw and County Waterford. As I know some of you here attending as well through your own committees work in various communities around the country. None of this would happen without the brilliant staff that we have here in the centre, led by our manager Alice Kiersey. And Alice, I have to say, is passionate about the work she does. She's passionate about the people she cares for and looks out for. And these, I believe, are the unsung heroes, not just of the pandemic, but of normal community life, who every day and every week reach out to people who might otherwise be isolated. And I think it's important we recognise those people all over the country that do this work. And they, of course, are supported in a real team effort by the voluntary committee that's in place here in this centre, as in many other centres around the country. The voluntary donations and sponsorship through fundraising by the community that supports this centre, and then also by the donors and sponsors of business and otherwise that contribute to us. Also supported by the HSE, we're a Section 39 charity, and we do receive subsidy from the HSE, without which we wouldn't survive. And I think that's acknowledged, Minister. We want to acknowledge that to you here today as well. Waterford Age Friendly, also we are in that association with other day centres around City and County of Waterford, where we share information, share our resources, and work for the betterment of our service users. And finally, not forgetting the National Meals on Wheels service provided through Irish Rural Link, for which we are here today, who have provided us with essential support during the pandemic, and I know we aim to be ambitious in terms of growing our Meals on Wheels service in the years ahead. I don't need to spell out the importance of this service to the people attending here today, but I think it is important we never underestimate the importance of providing Meals on Wheels to not just the elderly, but to vulnerable people in our society that may be isolated or may feel alone. I think it's more than just about the meals, it's about the social connection that committees and communities can give to these people. And I think that's what we're all passionate about, and that's what we all want to continue doing. I think this launch today is going to help us to reach out to people that we might not otherwise reach. I think it's a very good initiative, and I want to thank Irish Rural Link and the National Meals on Wheels Service for the input and effort they're putting into this initiative around the country. We as one committee here in Portlaw and County Waterford look forward to working with you as we grow our clients and service users around the country. And finally, just to say, we already work closely with our public health nurse here in Portlaw. We work with the many carers that look after the elderly in their homes, and I think it's important that we keep that relationship strong and we keep the communication strong between those important people that support our elderly in the community. I know Minister Butler is passionate about this. She's the Minister responsible for older people. I constantly hear her advocating for older people living in the community, and I think the Minister deserves our support in communities right around this country. I think volunteers are critical to that, and we in here in Portlaw are proud of our charity and our volunteerism to make this continue. So without further ado, I just want to say thank you all for attending today. We welcome this initiative, as I'm sure you do all over the country, and thank you for coming here today. For Margot.
Thanks very much, Paddy, for that warm welcome to Irish Rural Link and the Meals and Meals Network and the people here today as well. It's fantastic to hear the passion. I think that's the word I probably took from your talk there. Every day we hear it, we see it in Alice here, but we see it in all the providers across the country and all the volunteers that are on the ground every day, and they were really at the forefront through the pandemic. As Pádraig says, look, the core is the people that the Meals and Meals providers are servicing every day. So I'm just going to invite Bridget, who is a recipient of Meals and Meals locally here in Portlaw, and she's been great for us today. She entertained people like RT at her house today, so it's great for her to come. You want to come around this way, Bridget? There's no cables there. So I'll just invite her to say a quick few words. Thanks very much, Bridget.
Hello everybody. I'm here since 2014 and I come for 3 days a week, and I find it very good. There's everything for everyone here. It's what they want to do. There's knitting, sewing, computer classes, bingo, and in the summertime, of a nice day, we go on outings, which Alice organises very well. It's great for people who live on their own, that they can just come, even if they don't want to stay, if they just come for their dinner and stay, because everyone is so friendly here, and everyone talks to one another, so there's no problem with anyone here. So that's about it, yeah.
Thanks very much, Bridget, for those words. And I suppose, look, it's the Bridgets all over the country that that we're here for this service, and we hear it every day of the good work that providers are doing throughout the country. Before I introduce the Minister and ask her to speak, I suppose I want to talk a bit about the Meals and Meals Network itself, and why we're here today, the website, the interactive map. I suppose, look, under the umbrella of Irish Rural Link, the Meals and Meals Network was established in 2015, and its vision is of a fully supported Meals and Meals system which provide community-led services dedicated to nutritional and social needs of older and vulnerable people, enabling them to live independently. I suppose, look, the key really there is community-led. It's people on the ground that are doing it every day, that have a real vested interest, and it's that passion, I suppose, that Paddy talked about for people within their community. We've seen, the demand for Meals and Meals increase prior to the pandemic, and it's only going to go up in numbers. We've seen over the pandemic some providers and some members of the Meals and Meals Network telling us that they increased by 300%. That's a huge increase, and I think that's definitely here to stay to the future, so we have to cater for that going forward. We have an ageing population. By 2036, that people over 65 will increase by 82%. That's massive, and we must look to the future to cater for these people. And as people have said today, it's much more than Meals and Meals. It's that social interaction, do additional services, laundry, the daycare centres. I heard the Minister saying just a couple of minutes ago that 120 daycare centres have opened over the last couple of weeks, and that's fantastic. We see it on our social media over the week. People are delighted to get back into the into day centres and meet and greet each other again. It's been a long, hard 18 months for these people, and they feel isolated over the past 18 months, so it's great for them to get back. Look, we are assisting the most vulnerable in our society with this nutritional meat, and it's important that we keep it going. But not just that, these are social enterprises as well. They employ people in the area, they create buzz, economic development there, so they're also important from that. It's not just about giving people care and nutrition, it also has an economic function, and it's great to see we have some people here today that work in the industry around packaging, creating food, all that kind of stuff, so the spin-off is fantastic to see. I suppose Meals on Wheels as a sector can be sometimes very much under-researched, undervalued maybe in some parts of society, and it's difficult for providers and policymakers, I suppose, to make informed decisions because everyone's working on a voluntary basis. So that's why, with the help of the HSE, which funded our needs analysis, we completed that piece of work. So over the past couple of months, Irish Rural Link has been making calls and researching all the Meals on Wheels providers across the country. I want to acknowledge, I suppose, Samantha Reiner from the HSE, who was hugely important in this process. So over the past couple of months, we've identified over 250 Meals on Wheels providers across the country, and now they're available on our interactive map and website. And I encourage everyone here today to go view it, connect with local providers in the area, but maybe other ones that are the other side of the country that we can learn from. Over the next couple of months, we hope to organise networking events for providers to meet with each other and learn from each other. I think it's very important to say that peer-to-peer mentoring is the most cost-effective way that we can drive Meals on Wheels to the future, and it's a very simple way of doing it. So we look forward to that engagement into the future. There's many benefits to this map and to the interactive and to the website that I just want to highlight today. Every day, Irish Rural Link, we receive calls, emails from people that could be in Australia, America, or just somewhere in Ireland looking for the service for their family member. So this is a point of contact for them to find out their local area, or their local provider, which is hugely significant. Parallel to that, we get loads of volunteers that are looking to get involved in the service. So this will act as a contact point for them. But it's also important for Meals on Wheels provider, as I said, to identify who's their neighbour. Maybe I can go talk to them and find out what they're doing. I can learn something very small from them. But I suppose the most significant thing that we wanted to do as part of needs analysis, and Minister, it's very important, was to identify the gaps in the services. Maybe services that are not, particularly being serviced by any provider, that might fall between these gaps, and we can identify who's in those areas and how we can support them into the future. So it's hugely important for that. And it's, as I said, this networking opportunity is the most cost-effective way. We cannot continue to have black spots where people are not catered for and are left isolated. I suppose I would like to thank Niamh Nolan, who worked with us over the past few months to build this database of Meals on Wheels members and interactive map. I know she's sick of ringing people. She's made over 1,000 calls over the past couple of months, so it's fantastic to have her here today, and I just want to acknowledge her input in this process as well. I would also like to just quickly acknowledge eConcepts, who worked with us to develop the map and the website, and that will be continued to updated over time. As I said, I suppose at the beginning, we encourage all members, general public people, to use the website and the map as a tool to meet with other Meals on Wheels organisations. On the back of the pandemic, many new Meals on Wheels organisations have been formed to deal with the crisis. So we encourage those to come forward if we've missed them, and we'll add them to the website. I suppose on behalf of the network and Irish Rural Link, I would like to thank all our members for assisting us complete this journey, and we look forward to working with them into the future. So next, I'm just going to ask Minister Butler to come up and say a few words and to officially launch the Meals on Wheels website and interactive map. Since the Minister took office, I suppose she's had an open door policy to the Meals on Wheels network and believes in the role that Meals on Wheels can play. I know that her mother visits this centre and she's acutely aware of what's going on, and she's fully supportive. So it's great to have that open door policy, Minister, and we look forward to the engagement in front. So, Minister, I'd like to officially ask you to come up and launch Meals on Wheels network.
Díos mirgus go léir tá an-ábhas orm bheith anseo an maidin na dú, agus bhuaithlam 100,000 fála go le geachtain anseo. I'm delighted to be here this morning, and I would like to thank Irish Rural Link for their kind invitation to launch the new National Meals on Wheels website and interactive service map. It is a privilege and an honour for me to stand here in my hometown of Portlaw for this really, really important event. And I am delighted to be back at the Dr. Martin Daycare Centre, and I would also like to acknowledge the work and the support the Dr. Martin Centre gives to all those living locally and the hinterland. I would like to acknowledge also Lady Waterford, who has been to the fore for the Martin Hospital for more years than we care to remember. I would also like to acknowledge my friend and former colleague, Paddy Coffey, who is the Secretary, and Anne, who represents the committee. But most importantly, I want to acknowledge Bridget and Caughty in the front row, who use the service every single week and reap the benefits from it. And this would not be possible without Alice and her fantastic team here in Portlaw. I was here recently, as Paddy said, on the 21st of July, the day after the centre opened. And when we were finished, I went inside to speak to the service users, and they were absolutely delighted after, I suppose, 15, 16 months of not being able to come out and meet their friends and families, having cocooned in the early stages, but for them to be able to come back into the Dr. Martin Daycare Centre. And I'm delighted to say, as of today, we have 120 centres open throughout the country. We've more work to do. I accept and appreciate that. We have more work to do. But working with all the various CHOs and working with the HSE, we will get there. Some of the buildings, unfortunately, are not fit for purpose in a post or living with COVID world, and a lot of work has to be done in relation to infection prevention and control measures. Some of the daycare centres are not able to have the same capacity they had previously, so daycare centres that might have been open 5 days a week are now open in 3, and what they're doing is, you know, some people attend 3 days, some people attend 2 days. It's just to try and support people as much as possible, which is hugely important. But I just want to talk now about the Meals on Wheels network. The Meals on Wheels network has been an invaluable resource since 2015, when it was established by Irish Rural Link. And I want to thank James Cafferty today for all his work. But I do want to mention a man I have met, I suppose, back in 2015 myself, 2016 when I first came into politics. And I want to mention Seamus, who does Seamus Boland, who does a huge amount of work for Meals on Wheels and has so for many, many years. But he does a huge amount of work for Rural Link. And I suppose one of the things I'm always conscious of every day when I perform my functions as a minister or even as a TD in the locality, I'm always conscious of the postcode lottery that we're living in. And depending on where you're living, some services are not always available. And that's what we want to aspire to, that regardless of where you're living, that you can receive the correct wraparound supports to support older people to age well in their communities. The vital supports have continued for individuals and their families throughout the COVID-19 pandemic, notwithstanding the numerous challenges posed during these unprecedented times. The demand for Meals on Wheels has increased significantly during COVID, as James said, in some areas an increase of 300%. And for many, the familiar sight of the person delivering the hot, nutritious meal is a major focus of the day. But Meals on Wheels is more than just a meal. It reduces isolation, loneliness. It's a sense of comfort and support. It's knowing that somebody is going to call today, and for some people, especially in rural areas, they may not see anybody else that particular day. But I think it's also known that there's a wider network there and that the daycare centres are open. I think the Meals on Wheels really came to the fore during the pandemic, and it really supported people initially when we asked older people to cocoon for the first 3 to 4 months. And at a time when older people were not in a position to leave their home, the fact that they had somebody coming forward, knocking on the door, bringing, as I said, the lovely nutritious meal and the dessert. And I suppose it's at times like this we realise how invaluable this resource is. Sometimes, you know, you can take it for granted, but it's an absolutely invaluable resource. I want to talk now about the interactive map, which will be available on the new website. It's the first of its kind in Ireland and will enable enhanced engagement with the service. The map provides information on Meals on Wheels services across the country and will provide a dedicated resource of people looking for a service in their area. The website will also provide resource for Meals on Wheels providers in relation to available funding opportunities and other practical information, allowing for knowledge sharing and highlighting areas of best practice. It is a key priority for the government to support older people to live with independence and dignity in their own homes. And I suppose two words that drive me every day when I get up to do this job for older people, and even for people with, Minister for Older People and Mental Health, it's the voice and the choice of the older person. And I think the most important two words that I remember every day, that we all have a voice and we all have a choice. And I think it's really, really important that we acknowledge and accept that older people have given so much over the years. They have built up our country. They have given so much to us, and now it's your turn to take a little step back and to be supported in your communities with the correct wraparound supports. And 99% of people want to remain at home. 99% of people want to age at home, and for some people there will come a time when maybe we will have to consider long-term residential care. But for the most, the most important thing we want to do is to support people to age well at home. Last year I was delighted in the budget to be able to secure an extra 5 million home care hours, bringing the total of home care hours being delivered to people throughout the country to 24 million. That hasn't been without its challenges trying to recruit staff, but I can say as of last week, when I came into post last year, there were 7,250 people waiting for home care supports throughout the country. As of this week, there's 1,379. More work still to be done. I accept and appreciate that. There are challenges in rural areas, there are challenges at weekends, but we are working hard to try and resolve it, because, as I said, my aim as Minister for Older People is to support older people to age well at home, to live with dignity and to have the correct wraparound supports they need. And knowing that you're going to have the knock on the door with that hot nutritious meal every day, 5 days of the week, and if you want to get 2 meals on a Friday, you can do that, so that you have, a hot meal on a Saturday as well. I suppose, this is an important day as well, as we map how we're recovering and how we're moving forward from the COVID pandemic. So as of today, people will be delighted to know that certain restrictions have been lifted. For example, everybody will be delighted to know that live music is now allowed again. So I'm sure the Martin Centre will have on a Wednesday afternoon, they'll probably, I'm sure, have Michael Tuller and others coming with the box to play the few tunes, which will be very, very welcome. But also I want to say, for example, so for a lot of people sitting here will miss the fact that they couldn't go to their religious services for many months. And now, for example, the limit of 50 people is gone, so it's 50% capacity for the size of your church wherever you worship. So that's very welcome too. But I suppose what I'm really pleased about from the 20th of September, a lot of the, the support that people used to use, so whether it's active retirement groups, whether it's knitting or crocheting clubs, whether it's bridge clubs, all of those will be able to reopen from the 20th. Now, what we're saying is for groups that are fully vaccinated, that are fully, that have recovered from COVID, it will be 60% of the capacity of the venue. For those that have a mixed group that are not all vaccinated, they will still have to do it in pods of 6, but there can be multiple pods. And also 75% capacity in outdoor areas. Now, I have to say I was very pleased last week to see the take-up of the vaccination, and delighted that Waterford topped the list. 98.5% of people in Waterford aged over 18 are vaccinated, and the numbers are really, really strong, especially throughout the country. There's a couple of areas where we're going to have to work hard on. But again, delighted to see that this weekend 9,500 people just walked into vaccination centres throughout the whole country. 9,500 people aged from 12 years and over to be vaccinated. So we're certainly moving in the right direction. And I know we all want to get back to the new normal. We all want to get to a situation where, life can go on as normal as best we can. So once again, I want to congratulate Rural Link on all the work they have done for so many years in relation to supporting older people, in relation to supporting those that avail of Meals on Wheels. But I also want to thank today CE supervisors and the CE schemes that run throughout the whole country. All the work they do, an awful lot of the Meals on Wheels organisations wouldn't be able to function without the support of participants in CE schemes. And I also want to congratulate all daycare centres, because they are the hubs of where the meals are produced. And I would especially, and I know Paddy alluded to it earlier, I would especially like to thank the volunteers throughout the length and breadth of the company, length and breadth of the country. They were to the fore during the COVID pandemic. And I can remember seeing here in Portlaw the way all the local sports organisations came to the fore, and they supported people when they weren't able to leave their own house. And where would we be as a country without community involvement? I think we just wouldn't survive. So once again, I want to congratulate you all on today's events and on the development of this valuable resource for our communities. I know James has said they'll be doing workshops throughout the whole country so that people can familiarise themselves with what this new website has to offer and these new interactive maps. So a special thanks to James, National Rural Network Project Manager for Irish Rural Link, Seamus Boland, who couldn't be here today unfortunately, CEO of Irish Rural Link, but does phenomenal work. Again, Alice Kiersey, Manager of the Dr. Martin Centre. But I also want to thank the HSE and all the staff in the HSE, both nationally and locally, for all the work that they do to support daycare centres, but they also support Meals on Wheels, and they support people to age well at home. Phenomenal work has been done on the ground. But I especially want to thank all those, like Bridget and Coach, who use Meals on Wheels, and their families for supporting the initiative. So Garv Mila Mahagul Guler.
Thank you very much, Minister, for that, and for officially launching, I suppose, the Meals on Wheels website and the interactive map. As I said, it's hopefully will be a useful resource for everyone here today and for people across the country. As I said at the beginning, I suppose we really want people to network today, as it's our first kind of physical event. So we're going to allow people to, have teas and coffees. Alice has provided some great food here for people, so please stick around, get some teas, coffees, a bite to eat, and network with other organisations. Before we finish up, I suppose I just want to say a couple of quick thank yous. I suppose first of all, I want to thank Alice and her team here for hosting us today. I was down here a couple of weeks on holidays, and I gave Alice the ring and I said, can I just come over for a quick chat and we'll figure out this, and there was never a problem talking to her for the past couple of months. I met Alice over 18 months ago, I think, at this stage, and her passion is evident from the start, just talking her through it, and her really excellent team that she has around her does a great work, and it's similar across the country. I'd like to thank the Minister for coming today and officially launching it. As I said, we continue to work with the Minister over the past couple of years since she took office, and we look forward to the future of how this area and service can grow. A big effort has gone into organising today, so I just want to say a quick word of thanks to the IRL team as well, Paddy, Louise, Maria and Brendan. I'd like to thank Paulie for welcoming us here today, and for Bridget as well for hosting us earlier on, and for saying a few words today. It's great to have her here today. Last of all, I suppose I would like to thank you, the audience, for attending. As I said, many of you have attended a long distance, so please stick around, as I said, get some refreshments and we can have a chat. I know that the Minister is eager to talk to you all. So thanks very much, and yeah, there's food and refreshments outside.
Around this way here. Keep you away from those tables with Mary.
Bridget, you're looking lovely in your dress. And look, we're outside, so I won't. Come on in here.
Hi. How are you?
Sorry now guys.